There's this feeling that's been bubbling up online. A quiet, unsettling idea that seems to be gaining ground. It's one of those things that once you hear it, it kind of clicks. It puts a name to a feeling a lot of us have had, but maybe couldn't quite put into words. We're going to dive into the possibility that a sort of great silence has fallen over our digital world. This is our deep dive into the dead internet theory.
So let's start right there with that feeling. Just think for a second about the last time you were online. Scrolling through your feed, reading the comments. Does it feel different to you? Maybe a little empty? A little hollow? Someone once described it like this, and it's just perfect. It's like you're walking through what looks like a super busy city, but when you get closer, you see that the streets are just filled with mannequins. All the activity is just a show. And that uncanny feeling, that gut instinct that something is fundamentally off, that's really what we're digging into today.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll define what we mean by an empty internet. Then we'll get into this wild case study called the shrimp Jesus phenomenon. After that, we'll look at a serious tech problem, the Ouroboros machine, and then follow the money to see why this is all happening. And finally, we'll see how people are reacting, retreating into something called the dark forest.
Okay, so first up, an empty internet. Let's really put a name to this ghost in the machine feeling.
So what is the dead internet theory, really? Well, it's this hypothesis that somewhere around 2016, maybe 2017, the internet hit this tipping point, a point of no return. The theory suggests that after that date, most of what we see online, the content, the comments, all that engagement, it's not actually from people anymore. It's from bots. It's from AI. It's all just a giant simulation of a busy human internet.
And this is where that Truman Show analogy really hits home. It's the idea that we're the star, right? But everyone else, the audience, the people in the comments, even the trending topics, they might just be part of the set. Just scenery painted by algorithms. The goal isn't really to connect you with other people anymore. Nope. The goal is to keep the one real person in the room, you, clicking, scrolling, and engaging inside this perfectly built world of code that's just pretending to be a world of people. Okay, let's move from the feeling to the evidence. This is where things get weird. We're diving into the shrimp Jesus phenomenon, a perfect example of what people are starting to call the zombie internet. Now, before we get to the really strange stuff, I want to ground this in one hard number. A 2024 report from a cybersecurity firm called Imperva found that almost half, 49.6%, of all internet traffic is not human. It's bots. Just let that sink in for a second. That means for pretty much every real person online, there's a bot right there with them. We are literally about to be outnumbered on our own internet. I mean, just look at this. It's practically a 50-50 split. The line between a human internet and a bot internet is paper thin. In fact, we're probably crossing it right now. And what that means is that the public square we all talk about, it's not really public anymore. It's more like a simulated space just filled with digital ghosts.
So the big question is, what does this actually look like, when we're scrolling? Because it's not some invisible thing happening in the background. Oh no, it has a face. And trust me, that face is usually really, really weird.
It looks like this. And I'm willing to bet you've seen it. You scroll past some bizarre, obviously AI-made image like, Jesus Christ made out of shrimp, or a super realistic flight crew for an airline that doesn't exist. And you look at the comments and there are thousands of them, but they're all the same. Amen, it's a great idea, beautiful cabin crew, over and over and over. That's not people. That's the sound of bots talking to other bots, just faking a conversation. So here's how the whole scam works. It's a perfect closed loop. Step 1. Some bot account posts one of these weird AI pictures, like Shrimp Jesus. Step 2. An army of other bots instantly jumps on it, flooding it with likes and all those generic comments. Step 3. The platform's algorithm, which is just another machine, can't tell the difference. All it sees is a huge spike in activity, and it thinks, wow, this is popular. So step 4. It pushes this totally fake, human-free post right to the top of your feed. And just like that, a conversation that literally never happened between any actual people is now the most popular thing you see.
But, this isn't just about weird pictures clogging up our feeds. This zombie internet points to a much, much bigger problem, a danger to the technology we're all starting to rely on. We're now entering the section on the Ouroboros machine and the very real threat of something called model collapse.
So, what in the world is model collapse? The best way to think about it is like a kind of digital dementia. Okay, so all these big AI models that we're using for everything now, they were trained on the good stuff, right? The original internet,
full of actual human writing, art, and conversations. But what happens when the internet isn't human anymore? What happens when the next generation of AI is trained on data made by the last generation of AI? Well, the system starts to break down. It starts to forget.
It's exactly like making a photocopy of a photocopy. You know how that works. The first copy looks pretty good, but then you copy the copy and it gets a little blurry. You copy that one, it gets worse. By the time you're on the 10th copy, it's just a distorted, unreadable smudge. That's what's happening here. The AI is learning from its own synthetic, watered-down data. It loses all the detail, all the nuance, all the weirdness of real human knowledge. It's basically learning from a fading echo of reality. And that brings us to this incredible image, the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. The internet is in danger of becoming exactly that, a closed system. It stops taking in new, fresh information from the real world and instead just feeds on itself. It just recycles its own fake content over and over, making its own mistakes and biases bigger and bigger until it's completely detached from reality.
So this all begs the most important question, right? Why? Why is this happening? Who actually benefits from an internet like this? Well, to figure that out, we have to follow the money. This is all about the economics of deception.
It really boils down to three main reasons. First up, faking the numbers. Social media companies have to show Wall Street that they're growing, that people are engaged. Bots are a super easy way to just inflate those metrics. Second, control. An internet full of bots is way easier to manipulate. You can create fake trends, fake political movements. It's called astroturfing. You can make a tiny opinion look like it's the will of the people. And third, there's the SEO war. The internet is just getting buried in this AI-generated slop. These are articles written by machines for other machines to read, all just to grab a few cents of ad revenue. It's an entire economy where humans aren't even part of the equation.
Okay, so if the big public internet is basically becoming a fake stage filled with bots, what does that do to us? What's the psychological price for the real people still trying to navigate it? That brings us to our final part, the human fallout and the retreat into the dark forest.
The end game here is this really strange psychological state you could call digital solipsism. It's that creepy, paranoid feeling that maybe you're the only real person here, that you're in a comment section or on a forum and everyone else is just a really smart chatbot, an NPC. And when you feel that way, how can you trust anyone? The basic trust you need to have a real conversation just completely evaporates.
And that leads to a question you have to ask yourself now, all the time. You know that person you're arguing with online? The one who seems to exist only to be angry? Are you actually talking to a person with real feelings and real experiences? Or are you just wasting your time and your emotional energy arguing with a piece of code that was literally told your job is to be angry? The worst part is, you just can't know for sure anymore.
So what's the logical thing for a person to do in a world like this? Well, it's something called the dark forest theory. The idea comes from sci-fi, but it fits perfectly. Imagine you're in a dark forest, and you know there are predators everywhere. What do? You don't scream and draw attention to yourself. No. The smart move is to stay quiet, to hide, to be invisible. And that's exactly what people are starting to do online. They're leaving the big, loud public spaces, the Twitters and Facebooks, and retreating into the dark forests of the internet. You know, private group chats, discords, small communities where they know everyone is real.
And that leaves us with a final thought, a different way of looking at this whole thing. Maybe the name, Dead Internet Theory, is a little misleading. Maybe the internet isn't dead. It's just that the public parts of it, the main streets and town squares, have been taken over by the machines. The real people, the real culture, the real conversations, they didn't disappear. They just went into hiding. They've gone underground where the bots can't find them.